what can we conclude from the hypothesis that we coast 60 centimeters in 15 seconds, starting from rest? That's not written down, but it's an assumption here. We're starting from rest. Okay, well, if we coast 60 centimeters in 15 seconds, the average rate at which we're moving is 60 centimeters divided by 15 seconds, or 4 centimeters per second. If we look at a graph of velocity versus time, we see the graph going from 0, velocity 0, centimeters per second, velocity is implicitly in centimeters per second, up to some unknown velocity, of course we've labeled it here, in 15 seconds. We know this because one hypothesis we've made, and I might not have mentioned, is that the rate at which velocity changes, or the acceleration, is constant, so we have a straight line velocity versus time graph. Now, in order to determine how high this graph rises in 15 seconds, we can note that the average velocity is 4 centimeters per second. Now, if the average velocity is 4 centimeters per second, where does the average velocity occur? It occurs at the midpoint, halfway between 0 and 15 seconds. So we've noted here that average velocity of 4 centimeters per second at the midpoint implies what? Well, if it's 4 centimeters per second at the midpoint and starts at 0, then I guess it had better be 8 centimeters per second at the end. So we have a final velocity of 8 centimeters per second. In order to get an average of 4 centimeters per second, we have to average 0 centimeters per second and 8 centimeters per second. Therefore, the final velocity must be 8 centimeters per second. From this, we can determine the average acceleration. And of course, the acceleration is constant, so we didn't even have to say average. This will be the acceleration at every instant. That's our velocity change divided by our time interval. Velocity changes from 0 to 8 centimeters per second. That occurs in 15 seconds, so that we obtain an acceleration of approximately 0.53 centimeters per second per second. That's actually 0.533 centimeters per second, and the 3 keeps repeating. We can take a little bit closer look at the graph and see how we've depicted our conclusions here, that the average velocity is 4 centimeters per second, the final is 8, the acceleration is 0.53 centimeters per second per second.